It's time to make classes do what they're not supposed to do. Welcome to the Attic Dungeon. My name is Sam. You want a D6 hit die and be the tank of the party? I'm here to help you with everything. Ah, yes. The part where I shamelessly self-promote myself, but crazy enough, I'm going to do that in a few simple seconds. Subscribe, like, comment. There we are. That's all the promotion I want for me. The rest of this little moment I'm going to use to promote an event that I'm taking part in. Another event than the one I promoted last time. It's called, sorry for my non-Dutch speakers, the warmste streamers. It's a charity event here in Belgium organized by the Twitch community. They run a series of events, one of them being a Dungeons & Dragons one-shot that I will be dungeon mastering. The players are relevant, important people from the Flemish Dungeons & Dragons community. The one-shot will be in Dutch as well, so again, sorry my non-Dutch friends, but still, it would be amazing if you would watch the stream. You can donate during the stream, and depending on how much you donate, certain effects will happen during the one shot. It might be as simple as casting inflict wounds or cure wounds on a player and you don't know which one you're getting. There's a custom wild magic table. For a lot of money you could even polymorph someone into something. A lot of stuff that is going to happen. That's going to be amazing. It's all for charity, so don't hesitate to give the event a quick peek. All the information will be in the info bit under the vid. Oh, by the way, the one-shot is called The Orchestra of Order and Chaos. If that doesn't sound like an awesome good time, I don't know what is. Anyway, on to today's episode. Welcome to a new series here on the Attic Dungeon called Breaking the Mold. And what we're going to do in this series is very simple. We're going to take a class and make it perform the role that it is least likely to perform. I've done this before. I've done a rogue build that actually was a healer. And we all know the rogue has 0 healer abilities. So we're starting to do stuff like that more and more because I love doing stuff like that. And that's why today we're going to transform the Sorcerer into a capable frontline tank, which they have 0 abilities to do so. What does a tank need? Survivability, so armor class, hit points, nice saves, a few resistances, doesn't hurt anyone, and ways to control the battlefield. You don't necessarily need a metric shit ton of damage, you need control. And the good news is the Sorcerer has quite a bit of control in its arsenal. It's the survivability that we have to work on because obviously the Sorcerer has a d6 hit die and 0 armor proficiencies. Now we're going to fix those, and I can see you think, oh Sam, you're just going to take a mountain dwarf or a turtle and there you are, there's your survivability. No, because that would bring us to 17 armor class tops, and we want to go beyond that. We want to be an actual tank, so we need a shield. And that's why we're going to be a hobgoblin, and not the new one, because it's drastically different from the old one. I need the legacy hobgoblin for this, and that's okay. You can still use the legacy versions of the races if you prefer those, and that is what I need today. So the hobgoblin gives us light armor proficiency to start with, it's something, and a few weapon proficiencies, which are not very important, technically speaking, but you're going to have a decent dexterity because you are going to be wearing medium armor along the way, so you might as well pick up something like a rapier as some really last resort emergency weapon. We're mainly here for the light armor. So that's our race. Obviously our class is a sorcerer, and we're going to be the Clockwork Soul Sorcerer. Why? They get actually a really good damage absorbing ability along the road, but they start out with Restore Balance, which is already a nice control option at level 1. So restore balance a number of times per day equal to your proficiency modifier, so it scales with your level. You can cancel advantage or disadvantage on a roll of any creature you can see. So an enemy is attacking with advantage, quack. Ally has to attack with disadvantage, quack, it's gone. So that's a nice control-y option. It's not heavy control, but it is control. And it's control while you still have your turn to do stuff. And that is going to be one of the main benefits of this Sorcerer tank. You will be capable of controlling things with full levels of magic and still be a very noticeable melee presence annoying other enemies. You can kind of multitask, and that is going to be really strong. Now, what spells do we want? Cantrip wise, we're going to take Shocking Grasp and what's the other one? Lightning Lure. So we have a melee option and a mid-range option. Both of them have a control element. Shocking Grasp, if it succeeds, will take away the opportunity for enemies to do reactions, freeing up your allies to disengage without having to spend an action, freeing up your own movement as well, of course. And if the enemy is wearing some form of metal, you have auto advantage on Shocking Grasp, which is never bad. Lightning Lure is a mid-range like whip attack that allows you to pull enemies towards you, again away from your allies or into danger. You get the idea. It's movement control of enemies. I can hear things, Sam, why is this no weird Booming Blade, Green Flame Blade thing? That's because the old, obviously, Booming Blade didn't have a somatic component, so you didn't need to wiggle an empty hand. But nowadays, those two cantrips need you to wiggle an empty hand, and I want a shield, and you need a weapon as well, so there's problems. Except if you're planning on taking Warcaster down the road, but that takes such a long time to come online that I prefer not to do that. So Shocking Grasp, Lightning Lure. You get 4 cantrips, so you could take Firebolt as a long range, or no, sorry, not Firebolt, not at all Firebolt, but Ray of Frost as a long range alternative, because that reduces movement speed again. So we have 3 damaging cantrips already, and this one is of course a different damage type as well, and all of them have a control element in them, which is good. That is what we're going for. And then you could take Mage Hand, Message, Minor Illusion, whatever as the 4th one to round up your arsenal. Your level 1 spells, Absorb Elements is an excellent choice here because it remains relevant later on as well, and you get to add the damage that you absorb, well, not the damage but an extra damage die, to a melee attack that you make. So Shocking Grasp actually qualifies for the bonus damage from Absorb Element, which is good. You could, at the early levels, also take Mage Armor because it's going to take up to level 4 until we swap out to our Medium Armor getup. So if you want some more survivability than your Light Armor is going to offer you at level 1, Mage Armor is an option. Don't need to. I took Burning Hands because I just want to put the world on fire, and we're going to be in close combat range a lot, so being a human flamethrower, well, being a Hobgoblin flamethrower is really a good thing. At level 2, to round up my level 1 spells, I took Sleep because it's a good control spell at lower levels. Oh yes, ability scores, obviously very important. We're maximizing Charisma, of course, so I had 14 Charisma, added a +2 bonus from my race. 8 Wisdom, I dumped it. Intelligence, put it at 10. You can swap those around, obviously. Constitution at 15, +1 from my racial. Dexterity at 13, which is obviously an awkward number, but hang on to your suspenders, we're going to fix that. And Strength at 12, because we will be carrying medium armor and a shield, and you know, you want some carrying capacity. You could probably dump Strength a bit, pump up Int or Wiz, that's up to you. You do you. That is the complete level 1 setup for this tanky Sorcerer. Level 2 gives us sorcery points. Right now you can only use them to make more spell slots or turn spell slots into sorcery points. You know, that's what you get. It is level 3, of course, when we get our meta magic options, and I took 2, namely Twin Spell, the classic. You cannot live without Twin Spell, and since you're going to have a few single target control spells like Hold Person, it's always really good to be able to twin that into Hold 2 people. Same, you'll be picking up Haste along the road at a certain point. Twin Haste is a pretty good stuff. And Heightened Spell, it allows you to impose disadvantage on a saving throw that an enemy has to make against one of your spells. And that is, of course, really good to make sure that your control spell lands. They're both relatively expensive options when it comes to sorcery points, but they are impactful options. And your sorcery points are going to be in high demand anyway, so it's probably for higher levels when you start tossing these two around, but they're good to have nonetheless. Level 3 also means level 2 spells. As I said, Hold Person is going to be an ideal candidate there, being able to block 2 humanoids from doing anything and making them an all-you-can-eat buffet for all of your allies. And I took Vortex Warp as well, because Vortex Warp again allows you to move an enemy around, and it only targets one person, so technically you can twin Vortex Warp, which is good fun. You could drop people in the hot boiling lava with it. You can take him away from your squishy wizard friend to protect them. Vortex Warp is a valuable spell to me in this setup. So that's level 3 sorted out. Level 4 is of course an ability score improvement thing or a feat, by the way. Just like all my other builds, I'm taking this all the way up to level 8. So my improvement here is the feat Moderately Armored, which will bump up our dexterity to 14, which is great because that's all you need to wear medium armor to its fullest potential. And not only do you get medium armor, you also get shield proficiency, and that's why we're taking this feat really. You now have 19 armor class, and you don't need a weapon, so you have a shield and your open hand to cast Shocking Grasp and all the other spells that you need. So now you are officially a frontline sorcerer whose spells are going to be controlling the battlefield and dealing some nice damage along the road. I mean, you are allowed to pick up some damaging spells. I'm not going to stop you from picking up Fireball or Lightning Bolt along the way, you be you, but the spells that I'll be suggesting are of course all control-y or buffs or cool stuff in general. So that is level 4. As I said, Hold Person, Vortex, Warp are my 2 spells for level 2. That brings us to level 5. Now, you'd say, oh yes, pick up Haste. Haste is actually not that amazing for us. Well, it is of course amazing. It's Haste. But we don't get that much benefit from the extra action. You can use it to dash or disengage or dodge, which is actually good. Now that I think of it, using Haste, and you can always stand in dodge, which gives you disadvantage on all the attack throws towards you and advantage on dex save, so it's not that bad. And you can still cast Shocking Grasp along the road. You have double movement speed, so with an action dash you could have quadruple movement speed, and you of course have +2 armor class, which would bring you to 21. You could twin Haste and buff a buddy as well. The other really good option here is of course Hypnotic Pattern. Being able to hypnotize half a battlefield with Hypnotic Pattern and then killing the other half of the battlefield that's Primo Tank 101. You are mitigating a lot of damage by having enemies that are incapable of moving. Now also good because you will notice that from here on out there's going to be a lot of concentration spells in your pool. Don't forget that the Sorcerer gets proficiency in Constitution saving throws, and we have a relatively high Constitution with 16, so our saving throws are absolutely not that bad. Our concentration save is going to be very decent even, so that's good stuff. I'm quickly checking at level 8, which is obviously the highest that I'm taking this build. As I said, you have a +6 on your con save, which is far from terrible. That means you need to roll a 4 to maintain concentration on Haste, on Hypnotic Pattern, on stuff that you have. So that is level 5. Of course, 5 also buffs your cantrips. Level 6 is where we get our most important ability actually. It's called, for the tank build, it's called Bastion of Law, and it allows you to create a shield onto yourself or any ally, but you're going to put it on yourself because this is going to give you more durability. Oh, I forgot to put a short stop before I head into Bastion of Law. Don't forget that as a Clockwork Sorcerer, you get 8 automatically as a level 2 spell as well. And since we are short on hit points, because we only have a D6 hit die, 8 is actually a really good way to give yourself and some friends additional hit points, thus making you fulfill your role as a tank even better. And the quick 8 intermezzo. Bastion of Law allows you to expend 1 to 5 sorcery points, and you basically bank 1 to 5 D8s. When you take damage, you can roll a number of those dice without using, it doesn't take a reaction or whatever. You can just use these dice and you prevent that much damage. So obviously in the best case you prevent 40 damage at the cost of 5 sorcery points. That's not going to be it, but it's going to help you mitigate damage along the road, especially once you reach the higher levels and have some spare sorcery points lying around. The ward also lasts until it's gone, or until you take a long rest, or until it's gone, until it's depleted obviously, or until you take a long rest, or until you use the ability again to coat someone else in protective energy. But this is an extra shield, as it were. It's a bit unpredictable of course, but that's what makes it fun. On top of aid, and on top of your relatively high armor class right now. So at this point you are doing pretty well in the defensive department, especially if you consider the fact that you are a sorcerer. Now, that was level 6. We're moving on to level 7, which means level 4 spells. There's 2 level 4 spells that we're obviously looking at. One is Polymorph, because when your hit points start getting low, the hit points of the magical giant crab that you can turn yourself in are not low yet. So you can turn yourself into another formidable frontline opponent and keep stuff going. Which is never bad. It's kind of like druids and their wild shape abilities. Or a non-concentration spell, which is actually good as well. Fire Shield. Fire Shield basically causes enemies that hit you to take either fire or cold damage, makes you immune to the related weather. It's a reactive shield. You're going to be up in melee a lot. You're going to get hit quite a bit. This is great against multi-attacking enemies because they take that damage every time. You don't have to use a reaction for it. It isn't there's no maximum amount of hits that the shield can take. The shield remains for 10 minutes without concentration, so that's really good. Quick back-to-back combats it's going to last, and against enemies with a lot of attacks it's going to put out a lot of damage. So this is a nice yes, go on, hit me, I'm sure nothing can go wrong type of spell. And then, of course, at level 8, we get another ability score improvement, and we're just going to dump that into Charisma. We're going to up everything that we do, our DC, our spell attack roll. You know, Charisma, you're a sorcerer, so you be you. So there you are. That is my Sorcerer Clockwork Soul tank. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of this aberration that I made. Is the Sorcerer meant to tank? No. Is this the best tank in the world? No. Is this a good tank? Yes. Your only downside is that at level 8 you still only have, I think, 58 hit points, because you still do have only a d6 hit die. There's no way to pump that up. You could at level 12 possibly pick up the tough feat to add more hit points. There are ways of upping your hit points. But you're going to survive on absorb elements, on your high armor class, and on the very sturdy control that you can bring to the battlefield while still whacking the living bejeebus out of things. So that's the source tank for you. You're welcome. I hope to see you all in 2 weeks in the Attic Dungeon.